welcome back to another episode of We Read It One Night, a romance podcast where two sisters go on long tangents and also talk about romance novels. Today, we are chatting about Never Fall for Your Fiancée by Virginia Heath, a book that Rachel has been looking forward to doing for a very long time. This historical romance rom-com is super cute and funny and honestly the perfect spring book. On a slightly more bittersweet note, we wanted to announce that we will be taking a 2-month hiatus after this episode. We figured that, episode 69, because we sometimes have the minds of middle school boys, is as good a chance as ever to take a break, maybe even call this the end of season 1, and in 2 months we'll start season 2. In the meantime, we're going to be re-releasing all of your favorite episodes, so we will see you again with a very new book in 2 months. Don't forget to leave us a rating and review, and check out our Etsy store for new designs dropping every week. Enjoy the show. Black eye?
I thought it was going to be a black eye, but it turned out to just be a scab.
From what?
Hitting my face on the desk. No, my clip fell underneath the desk and I hit it on the keyboard holder all the way down. I don't know. Listen, I really thought it was going to be a black eye.
What the fuck?
Why are you acting like that's so crazy?
You didn't mention that. You didn't say that you hit your eye. There was no preamble to this. It's like the animal islands in Thailand when you're like, yeah, the dog islands in Thailand, as if I'm supposed to know. I'm supposed to know that you hit your face on the desk.
I say a lot of things to a lot of people, not to a lot of people. I say a lot of things to between 2 and 3 people a day. Sometimes I forget which of those people I said them to.
You only say things to me over text, so that can be your differentiation.
Yeah,
except when
my brain doesn't differentiate between that.
Okay, all right. I'm sorry you hit your face.
I went to an estate sale today. I think I sent you some of the things.
Yes.
But I'm not sure. I don't know if I believe that it was an. I don't know if I believe that it was an actual estate sale, just because the vibes of this stuff, I don't know, unless it just didn't seem like enough of an old person's stuff, and there was a lot of kids stuff. So I was like, is this actually a moving sale? And that statistically, whatever, data shows that estate sales do better than moving sales. I don't know. I don't actually know. This was the second day, and I came literally it ended at 3, and I got there at 2:25. I was there last, very end. So I don't know how much of furniture was actually there. There was still one bed for sale. So I don't know if all the furniture was actually for sale and it was all bought already.
All the good stuff got taken.
Well, yeah. Well, but I wasn't going to buy beds anyway, but you know what I'm saying? If all the furniture had been for sale, then I would believe this is someone who actually died getting rid of all their stuff. Because if you're moving, you probably take at least some of your stuff, you would think, right? Do you know what I'm saying? I just don't know if I believe it could have been grandparents and they had a lot of their grandchildren's stuff or whatever.
Sure.
But something about the vibes, I don't know, the clothes and stuff, it just didn't. It was giving middle-aged with a kid in middle school. I don't know.
I mean, it could have just been someone who died young too.
It could have been someone who died young.
Houston traffic.
Sure, but then why is there kids stuff for sale too?
I don't know.
There was boys' clothes and stuff,
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I really don't know much about the estate versus moving sale.
Well, but so the people running it were this company called Two Moms Estate Sales or something, and they were saying apparently they do this every week. They do a different estate sale every week on Friday and Saturdays. So that could be a business idea for us. Although actually the more I thought about it, I was this really seems actually the opposite of the optimal business idea for us, because it involves being up early on weekends.
Also, it's just
and having to be somewhere. It seems like a lot of work. Yeah, no, definitely.
Seems like a lot of little detail work that I would definitely get tired.
It seems like something mom might enjoy.
I would hyper focus on it really well for the first 3 things, and then my brain would be all right, we're done. I don't want to do that ever again.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like they probably standardize. They have a price list that they probably can use every time. And
yeah, no, I'm sure. I know, but you still have to go through and catalog.
No, I know.
You have to
I know. No,
oh God,
I know.
Horrible.
It seems so much.
Just
yeah, or you just. I mean, a lot of it's
maybe if I could
people.
pay someone to do.
Well, that's what you're doing. You're paying. You are the person being paid.
I know. I could pay someone.
You could be just like
I'm the middleman.
you're the business owner and you like hire employees to do all
Yeah.
this stuff. Yeah. No,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
actually,
yeah.
I was like, wow, this is a great idea. And then I was like, actually, this seems like quite possibly one of the worst fits for us personally.
Yeah, no, that's horrible.
Having
Just
to
like,
organize a bunch of someone else's stuff and be up on weekends and like physically be places. I don't know.
boo, tomato, tomato.
Okay, so today we're doing Never Fall for Your Fiancé by Virginia Heath.
Yes.
Woo! Got that name.
Ooh.
Yeah.
This is Rachel's long requested book.
Oh yeah. I
that we
requested
do.
it. And
Rachel's been wanting to
you've
do.
met the author. You've
I
met
met
Virginia.
her.
Is
Yeah,
that her real
I met
name?
her. I
Probably
don't know.
not.
That's what people called her.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I met her at the historical romance retreat, and she's great, and she's like actually she's like super funny, like in real life. She's British, and she's
Oh
just like
really?
this very like dry humor, but like also
Huh.
like huge laugh British woman.
Oh, I didn't
It
know
was
that.
really
Wow, she
fun.
came far for that conference then, because I was in San Francisco, right?
Well, maybe I don't know whether she like lives in the US now or like what, but
She signed a copy of the book for me
yeah.
because this heroine is tall, TM, and apparently so is her daughter, Virginia's.
Yeah. I told
Like real
I
life,
was like
yeah.
telling her, I was like, send it for my sister because she really likes the tall heroine. And she was like, my daughter's tall. She's like, my daughter's tall too. She's 6 foot or whatever.
Yeah. So basically, okay. So the setup of this book is main character
A
is named
classic
Minerva.
historical romance setup. Like
Classic.
this is like primeval. What is it like? This is like beta level. Like
This is like the primordial ooze. I don't know.
I feel like this is something that happens every time. Primordial, yeah. Primordial. Apparently a synonym to primordial or to primeval is inbred. So I mean,
What?
we are doing historical romance. It's about the British
I
aristocracy.
guess that makes sense once we go back far enough. Yeah.
No, I don't know. It doesn't work. Yeah, this is such a classic historical romance setup. Like he's such a romance historical romance hero where like the only thing he has to get over is like my papa was a cheater and his grandpa was a cheater and I have tainted blood and so I can't love.
Yeah, it's really giving Anthony
like,
Bridgerton. Like not with that exact thing, but like
it's
yeah.
funny because this was written recently, but it's like giving very early 2000s, like late 90s romance historical.
Oh, okay.
It's
Interesting.
great. Oh, and when I started this, I was like, I've read this before, but like I don't think I have. And then I realized that I think I read the first chapter because like you recommended it, and then I was like, no, we're doing it for the podcast, so I'll just like wait. But like the whole first chapter, I was like, what? Like, is this? Have I read another book with the same opening premise? Like, I don't understand. I was very confused.
So the premise, so with all this foreshadowing, is that it's Minerva and her two sisters. They're all named after Roman goddesses. So it's Minerva, Diana, and Venus, V. And their mom's dead. Their dad was shitty and like abandoned them when Minerva was 19. So she has to like provide for the family. And
parentified
yeah, they're
sister.
poor. And when she meets the hero, she's trying to get money back from this like skeevy man. She's an artist, like an engraver. She makes like advertisements, and she's trying to like collect money from him because like otherwise they're gonna get kicked out. When Hugh, the hero,
which is oh god, I was like, Hugh, really? Like what an unsexy name. Usually when they have an unsexy name, his title gets like a little
the
like
actor Hugh
Grant.
Hugh Grant. Yeah, Hugh Grant's good looking, right? Is that really his name? He's like the
yes, Hugh Grant. He's like Notting Hill, Four Weddings and a Funeral. Benoit Blanc's husband in Glass Onion.
Bridget Jones, Love Actually. Yeah. And he basically like flexes his aristocracy muscles to get the money back.
He said, wait, I love this quote. He's like, Hugh had never corrected people on his title before because he hated upsetting people. And I was like, honestly, same. Like, I would just be like, would never say anything. Like, absolutely not. But yeah, Hugh's whole deal is that he has tainted blood, so he can never marry or fall in love because he is genetically predisposed to be a bad husband. TM. And his mom's a matchmaker and has been trying to set him up, and so he made up like a fake fiance. It's very like When a Scot Ties the Knot by Tessa, which is like the reverse situation where it's like the heroine makes up a fiance and like writes letters to him, but like they're fake. But then it turns out the name she made up is the name of like a real guy, and then like he shows up at her castle and is like, hey, we've been writing you've been writing to me. Anyway, yeah, so he made up a fake fiance, and now his mom is coming from America because she married an American guy. That the American accent that this audiobook narrator does is so silly. It's just truly atrocious. And yeah, so he has to get like a fake fiance. And he coincidentally named his fake fiance Minerva.
So when he meets her and she says her name's Minerva, he's like, oh, this is perfect. And she like he shakes her hand, and he's like, and it was so weird. Like when she took my hand bizarrely wanted to hold hers forever. It's like, listen, the hand always knows first. I don't make the rules. The hands know. The hand knows what the hand wants. The hand always knows.
I'm gonna be honest, like, well, that's what you get in historical romance. Like, you can't pull that off as well in contemporary because you're touching people's hands willy nilly in contemporary. But like,
are you? How many?
Well, like you can shake someone's hand. You can like shake someone's hand. You know what I mean? Like it's not like weird for you to touch someone's ungloved hand. You know, like that's not
a little weird. It's a little weird.
Okay. Anyway,
you're not touching hands willy nilly left and right.
And I know Hugh's whole like thing is that he's like, I can't get married because I'm too selfish or whatever. But like honestly, like same. Like that, like I'm just like right now, I am far too self-absorbed for like a partner or children. Like I'm like, I just couldn't. Like I want my time to be only mine. I don't want to have to give it to another person. And so I feel like this isn't as selfish. I mean, the reason he's like this.
He means selfish as in he'll like cheat on them.
Yeah. But I was just like, self-reflection wise, I know we always give romance heroes shit for this kind of stuff, but sometimes I'm like, it's fair enough.
So he basically convinces her, he offers to pay her like a lot of money TM for her, like first 20 pounds, and then he like ups it to 40. And she's like, wow, that's going to pay our rent for like 2 years. And like, maybe I can actually like sort of expand my business and like, we won't be evicted.
I'll be able to feed my family. Meanwhile, Hugh is like, oh, my mom is such a matchmaker. It's so annoying. And like Minerva in her head is like, wow, rich people problems.
I know. She's like constantly roasting him. And she also like does not have a very high opinion of men, period, like overall, because of her dad. And then also there's this like kind of unnecessary and like vague like first love that she had who like left her once at the same time her dad left because he didn't want to be responsible for like her and her sisters. I don't know.
Yeah, that wasn't really necessary.
Like, yeah.
I feel like her dad was enough reason for Minerva to be like,
We cut to the sisters all in a carriage on the way to Hugh's house. And Diana is like, more mature, like Minerva. She still sees Minerva as like the leader, but like Diana like gets it. She's still like, maybe you should let us meet him first. Like, what are you thinking? Whatever. Venus is kind of a baby. She goes by V.
The worst. God,
she's 17. So she's like, they kind of have tried to like shelter her a little bit and like let her keep like going to school or like, studying instead of working or whatever. And she's like still convinced that the dad's going to come back. She like just, whines a lot this whole time. She's the problem. But I kind of like, also,
I know she's 17 and like part of the things is that I understand like where she's like, no, she doesn't want to like give up the idea. She doesn't want to like admit that their dad is like horrible. Like she doesn't want to accept that. But on the other hand, like your sister is saying, hey, we're going to be homeless and not have food if we don't do this, if I don't get this money. And I just feel like even at 17, I wouldn't say something like, I would rather be homeless than like, like I just,
but it's still so annoying. But it still annoys me when like Hugh and his friend Giles and like the men are like the first to like point it out that she's like the problem. I don't know, like you don't get to be criticizing. I don't know. That it just kind of annoys me when they like. I'm like,
Yeah,
I
I
can
don't know.
say
I
this,
had the
but you
opposite
don't get to
reaction.
say this. I mean, I was
Yeah.
gonna say no, but why are you saying no? Like,
Yeah. When they were thinking that, I was like, "Ugh, they're right. Like, they shouldn't." But I was like, they're right. She's just the
I
worst.
know. And I was like, I don't know. I'm just always skeptical when someone like comes in like that. I'm like, even as a reader, like, I don't know, I can't explain it. Like, imagine if like someone was trying to say that like I was really annoying or something, or like, I don't know, like one of your like friends or like friends that you hadn't even known for that long. I don't know. It just like really gets my
Yeah.
hackles up. It
Well,
reminds me of that TikTok I sent you that was like there's like certain women that are like, I don't know what the phrasing was. It was like a bellwether for like misogyny. It's like you'll like your friends or whatever, like whenever you introduce them to men who are like,
oh yeah,
right,
yeah.
and
The
they'll like
men will.
immediately hate them like so much, like they just like elicit this like really strong reaction. And it was like, I get that V is actually annoying and immature. However, that being said, these men don't get to say that. They don't get to be the ones.
To be fair, they're not like criticizing her like carte blanche, like across the, they're not like
Mhm.
criticizing her as a person. They're
No, I
specifically being
know.
like, she's a horrible actress and she's not
I
even making
know.
an effort.
I think I'm projecting in this scenario. Like, I don't think this is actually like in the text. I'm just saying, like, that's what it reminds me. Because usually, I feel like usually when you get this kind of scenario, it's like not, I don't know, whatever.
Honestly, I think also like it's Venus like reminded me so much of Elaine. And so I was just like my hackles were immediately I was like it's the Elaine character archetype. Like she's pretty and sweet and
Oh.
innocent and has a rose-colored worldview. I was just like I want you.
Yeah, but I guess that doesn't bother me as much because she's the youngest. Like I told
Yeah,
you that. I was like, if Farrah hadn't been the youngest, like
I know.
something
I
about
think I would
it.
be so much more okay with it if Venus were like 9. Like single digits, I'm ready to accept this kind of behavior because you're a child. But like, I know it's unfair, but
Mm.
like once you're in the double digits, I'm like,
Ugh,
cut that shit out.
no, that's silly. Well, it's interesting. I just thought of this, but like you have like Jane Bennett on the other end of this like spectrum where like it is the oldest sister. She is like, oh, this like rosy worldview, whatever, like thinks the best of people, but like manages to be unproblematic, nevertheless, like not cause problems. You know, she doesn't like, she's still like, will help out and like not.
Well, because
Yeah.
she's also like the key part of Jane. The difference between her and Venus is that Jane,
And
like
Elaine.
Hugh, doesn't like upsetting people. That's
That's
Jane's
true.
thing. So like that's the
Mm.
key difference. Whereas Elaine and Venus are just self-absorbed.
Well, I wouldn't call Jane like a people pleaser or anything. It's not that she just doesn't
She's
like
not a
upsetting
people
people. It's
pleaser,
that
but
she
like
just genuinely thinks that people are like
yes,
like
but
always like reads in the best intentions and like doesn't. Yeah.
right, but like she's also not one to like rock the boat unless it's like fully necessary. You know what I mean? Like unless she's like forced to confront, she's always going to take the like path of like not people pleasing, but of like trying to smooth the situation over and like
Maybe.
I
Yeah.
don't know. This isn't a
I
Pride and
don't know.
Prejudice episode. We can do
Anyway,
that one
well,
day.
I just realized like I feel like maybe that's what she was trying to go for with Elaine. Like maybe we're supposed to think of her as like a Jane, but like she's just not.
She's not because she let her sister like
No,
imagine if Jade were
exactly.
like,
No,
Lizzie, go hunt.
I know. Jane would never. Yeah, I know. Listen.
Jane would be like sadly like trooping through the woods behind Lizzie, like tripping over every root, but like being like, no, I'm okay. Let's go.
Yeah,
Like
don't
every
worry.
day.
Just a little snake bite, no big deal.
Don't worry about me. My ankle, yes, it's the size of a tennis ball, but I'm fine.
Is that Jane or you? Listen. No, just kidding. Your ankles are great. Okay. All right. So the other piece of this is that I forget, like his friend Giles takes this upon himself to hire them a mother, right? He hires
Yeah.
this like opera lady who like unclear, apparently she's a really bad singer, so unclear how she's supposed to have like actually
No, I
been an
don't think
opera.
she was necessarily an opera because she says she's on Drury Lane
Mm-hmm.
and she played like she says she was like in one opera, but like all the times because she's constantly like, did I tell you I played X character and X
Mm-hmm.
play? And they're all like plays, they're not operas. So it seems like she's mostly like an actress.
Yeah.
But his whole elaborate story is that like the fake Minerva's like father died and Minerva was like gonna die of consumption, but then like she survived. And like Minerva's like the real Minerva's like, listener, for those of you that don't know, consumption is tuberculosis. Like, you don't recover from tuberculosis without like modern medicine. Like, you're like, once you got it, you're done.
Yeah.
And Minerva's like, okay.
I mean, I actually don't think, well, yeah, I guess without modern medicine, unclear. Well, when did they come up with like treatments for it? I don't think everyone dies of tuberculosis. I just don't think
Well, that's what Hugh says. He's like, actually, I've looked it up, and there are a few
Yeah.
people who survive, but it's like very unlikely. You know what I mean? Like, consumption in the historical
I don't
time period is
know.
like, you just assume, okay, like this person's just gonna waste away.
Apparently, by the dawn of the 19th century, tuberculosis had killed 1 in 7 of all people that had ever lived. That's crazy.
Jeez.
Wow.
Yep, consumption, baby, highly transferable. Yeah, you need antibiotics. So like,
Okay. Well,
I mean, that shit's not fixing
there it
itself
is.
until like penicillin comes. Is penicillin the first antibiotic?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like, you know, synthesize, like, not
Yeah,
synthesize, but like intentionally,
yeah.
yeah,
As opposed to like honey, you know.
yeah, or like alcohol. Antibacterial.
Fair enough.
Not for
Isn't
drinking,
that
but like, you know what I mean.
What's the difference between an antiseptic and an antibiotic?
I think antibiotic is usually like you take it and like in your body. Antiseptic is like for cleaning surfaces.
So alcohol would be an antiseptic.
Yeah, because like drinking it won't like heal you of tuberculosis. I'm sure they tried.
But you sure can try.
And so this opera lady
no.
up,
The difference is antiseptics weaken and slow the growth of bacteria, whereas antibiotics kill bacteria.
Oh.
So antibiotics are just like stronger antiseptics, basically.
But like when you
this is what Google said.
When like you clean a wound or whatever, I guess antibiotic like ointment.
Yeah,
okay.
So it's like, because you don't want to kill all the bacteria in the wound, you just don't want like the bad bacteria to grow faster than the good bacteria.
Okay. So back to the opera lady showing up. Drury Lane. I think that's how we got on the tuberculosis. I don't know. I really don't remember.
No, it's consumption. That's
so
how
yeah. So opera lady shows up and she's like really just like, she's like, well, I'm a method actor. I took up sleepwalking for when I was Lady Macbeth. And she's like, so I think we should just we should just like talk to each other like mothers and daughters the whole time. And this is when B's like, I'd rather be homeless than call a stranger mother. Me. And Minerva like finally gives her like a little like talking to. She's like, listen, like you need to shape up or ship out. Not really, but like she's like, listen, dad's never coming back. Like we need this or we're gonna be homeless. And then she like walks out to the door and like I really related. She's like, in that short walk to the door, remorse at her flash of temper had replaced like, you know, whatever, her anger.
Yeah.
Like, listen, I get it. Just like Minerva's like constantly snapping at people like justifiably.
Yeah.
You know, like for, you know, it needs to be said and then like immediately feeling guilty.
I feel like that's really only for Venus though. I feel like when she snaps at Hugh, she's like maintains her anger for a little bit longer.
No, I feel like that same sentiment is like repeated, or she's like, wow, I'm surprised that like the guilt hasn't set in yet, like one time, which implies that like it usually does, you know. Yeah,
I guess.
So next up, apparently according to Hugh, like what he told his mother, his Minerva is like a great horsewoman. The real Minerva has never ridden a horse and has literally no desire to, but they have to learn. So somehow like her sisters, even though they're apparently like all tall, like I think they say, like they're fine. They're like, they like totally get it. And she's like, yeah, I've just like literally never, I've always been bad at like every physical thing, which is like another way that I relate to this character. I'm like, yes, absolutely. Like I have some kind of like learning disability when it comes to like physical thing. I don't know. Listen, like it's just always, it's not that I can't do it. It's just that it's like, I don't know. It's just like so much, takes me so much longer than I feel like it takes than it should. I don't know.
Your arms and legs have longer to go.
I guess, yeah.
Like, you know, you have to move faster.
But at the same time, well, I thought that, but then like for this musical that we had to put on, like we had to do like multiple dances. And like I mean, compared to like all these other like lawyers, like I actually am pretty, I guess I'm like pretty fast at learning things. It's just like making my body do them in a way that looks good. No, maybe I'm too hard on myself. Listen. Yeah. Because, right, like, do you have, you know, if you have to learn like a dance, like, is it harder for you to like memorize what the steps are or like actually do it? I don't know if that makes sense. Like, remember.
I don't know.
When
I memorize the steps, I do it.
Yeah.
I think you would actually do well in Regency era dancing because Minerva's like, I can't dance or whatever.
Yeah.
But Regency area dancing is just what you just learn the steps, and there's no like, you don't have to make it look good because it's just like holding hands and walking in circles.
Like walking in like a
it's really great. I wish, let's bring back Regency dance. I had so much fun when I did the line dances. Like we did a line dance and I was like, this is delightful. And like you can actually talk to people and it's actually dancing.
I guess. I actually don't know if I could talk at the same time. I don't know, like, because it's so hard to make my, like, I just remember, I don't know when this would always come up, but it'd be like, you're supposed to make your face like, you know, expression, like smile and stuff. Like that's hard.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you watched that video that I sent you guys of the practice. Like that Baba thought was an earthquake. So this song, okay, so it's set to the tune of "I Will Survive" by Gloria Gaynor. You know, like I will survive, I will survive. I sent this in our family group chat at like 4 a.m. Listen, if you're not sleeping with your phone on do not disturb by this point, I can't help you. But
okay, but our
grandma is in a different time zone, and I went to bed like right after I sent it, and she apparently, for some reason, she couldn't open it. Like, I guess Google, it was in like it was Google Drive. And apparently, like, whatever, that just like isn't supported yet in Serbia. She somehow
hyped herself right around the time of the Turkey earthquakes.
It was like a week after, whatever. She hyped herself up, convinced herself that I was saying we will survive an earthquake, which again, if we're surviving, why is that cause for concern? She freaked out. And I was like, I'm sorry, it's a dance. And then mom was like, you can't send stuff like that to Baba, Rachel. Like, God, how could you be so stupid? Like, how, of course she's going to think it's an earthquake. Like, I'm sorry.
I mean, you do have a habit that, listen, I am not on mom's side in terms of like, yes, that video is automatically interpreted as an earthquake. But you do have a habit of sending things in the family group chat with no context, and often they are alarming.
What alarming things do I send?
The car accident. Okay, listen. I'm just saying.
First of all, I would never have sent that to Baba without context. Second of all, I already said it to you, so I assumed that you turned around and told mom and Stefan that you'd filled them in.
I was in New York.
Oh, listen.
I wasn't in the
I thought you were back on Tuesday. Listen.
No.
You came back on Wednesday? Okay, whatever.
It was Monday night.
My point with that dance video was, if you watched it, if you look at me, like, listen, I'm doing all the steps, but if you look at, I don't know, so many bruises. Well, I realized, so you know how we always.
How are you getting bruises from that? Are you hitting people?
No. I'm just saying in general. No, I'm just saying in general, I get a lot of bruises from bumping into things.
Yeah.
Well, for like a day, I tried to pay attention, and I realized what happens. Why? Okay, this is what happens. And the time I finally managed to like pinpoint it, I was at a restaurant, and I stood up from the table to go like ask for more chips, and like, I guess what always happens, I always like think that I can like make it. Like, basically, I tried to go around a chair, but, like, I didn't go far enough around. It's like I bumped into it. And my immediate, like, response was to be embarrassed, be like, wow, I guess I was too fat to walk by that chair, despite the fact that it was literally just, like, what? And then, like, look around, like, hope no one noticed. And then, like, immediately block it from my memory as, like, embarrassing. Like, so I think that's why, I don't know if that happens to you, but I think that's why I block it out, especially when it happens in public spaces, when I, like, bump into things, like, on the way to – I don't know. It's always just like immediate embarrassment because I'm like, oh, wow, like I should have like slowed down. I don't know, whatever. And then like erasing it from my brain. That's like a defense mechanism. And then like a day later,
you don't
it's like,
learn. The neural pathways are
exactly.
Not
and then like, and then like a day later, it's like, wow, I had no idea where this bruise came from. So weird. But that happens like 10 to 12 times a day.
That was happening
probably.
to me for a while. I kept having mysterious bruise in the same spot in my thigh. I kept having mysterious bruise in the same spot in my thigh, and I was like, where is this coming from? And then one day I hit it on the baseboard of the bed, and my brain was finally like, oh, that's it. That's what all these bruises are coming from.
This happens to me. It's happened to me like my whole life. It's just like always a different. I'm glad we finally got to the bottom of that one though. But I feel like this is just like a constant, like never end. It's just always like different, just
plagued,
just walking into doors, walking around corners, just literally hitting my eye on the table.
Listen, Minerva is like that on the horse. Hugh lifts her up, and there's this whole thing. She's like, oh, I'm so heavy, like he can barely lift me. was like, relatable. DM.
She's like, why does the horse have to be that tall? Like, I want a smaller horse. And he's like, the horse has to be that tall because otherwise your legs would drag on the ground. She's like, are you implying I would crush a smaller horse? Then he's like, it's easy. And she's like, well, you probably never even ridden side saddle. Like,
that's true. Yeah, the fact that she is, because like,
I know.
I forgot about that temporarily, and I was like, listen, like, I get it, but like, just like sitting on a horse, like walking on a horse is like really like, I feel like not very difficult to pick up. Like, even if you're like, you know what I mean? Just like walking on a horse, no other skills. But then they were like,
you're not walking on
yeah. You're just sitting on the horse.
Like Ringling Brothers shit.
No. But then I remembered it was side saddle, and I was like, oh, fuck no. Absolutely not. Like, we need a Princess Diaries 2 situation in which like you have the fake leg so she can fake side saddle and then just put the other one around.
Yeah.
Because not today.
And then we get one of the classic, like, he's like, oh, I'm so into her, I must be sick. Like, that's...
Oh, he's like, am I having a heart attack?
Sudden and new. Yeah.
He's also constantly, every time he hears about the shitty men in her life, like, she tells him about her dad, he's like, what's his name? I'm gonna kill him. And then when she tells him about her ex, she's like, what's his name?
It's like, I'm so weird. It's so weird. I had the sudden urge to just like keep riding on this horse all the way to London and murder this man
and fuck up.
I'm on my way to murder Elena. And then he's like, yeah, wow, when she said she lacked the talent for anything physical, she hadn't lied. And I was like, it's me. Like, I feel like that happens a lot. I'm like, I'll tell people. Like, the way that these boys at the office keep pitching, like, they all rock climb together sometimes, and they keep pitching it as like an activity to include like us, like the women of the office, and
like rock climb, like on actual rocks, or like at a gym?
No, like at a gym. But I just like, I was like, no, I don't rock climb. I'm sorry. And they'll be like, why? Like, so, and I'm like, I just like, I don't know why you need I just don't understand why you need an explanation. Like, I guess people look at me, like, I don't know. People look at me and they're like, wow, you're athletic. Tall. You must be athletic. Yeah. And I'm just like, I can't explain how much I'm not. And how by this point in my life, I finally accepted that I have no desire to, like, it's not even like I want to be.
You're like, it's been a long journey. It's been nearly 3 decades of accepting that I'm not.
The rock climbing, though, I realized was not for me. Like, that's just, it's a no. It's a no for me, dog. The upper body strength, the heights. The only fun part is rappelling down, like the bouncing down the wall.
I agree. I've always wanted to do that. You know, the Princess Diaries 1, when she's rock climbing with her mom.
Yeah.
And they get all the way to the top and then they get to rappel down. I was like, the rappelling down looks fun, but I'd never be able to make it to the top. Never be able to do it.
No, and I'm always like, listen, if the belay person can give you enough tension, I feel like it'd be so much easier to climb up. I get pulled for the way up. Like, listen, that would be fun. You just kind of like float up the wall.
The belay person is actually just pulling you up.
Yeah. No, listen. Speaking of Princess Diaries, wait, I feel like, okay, when I say Voltaire, what comes to mind? What do you think of when I say Voltaire?
I mean, now that you brought up the Princess Diaries,
but you wouldn't have otherwise.
I would have pictured like a black and white old-timey portrait of like a bewigged Frenchman. Like, that's, I feel like
I never learned anything about Voltaire. Like, that was just like missing from my education.
Okay.
Which I'm fine with, because why should I learn about this random Frenchman? So to me, it's Lily standing up in class in the Princess Diaries trying to distract from Mia's hair, saying, Voltaire. Like, well, I want to talk about Voltaire, not hair.
Okay.
Like,
here's the thing. I think also I don't make that connection because I only realized she was saying Voltaire when I watched that movie for the first time with subtitles, which was like when I was an adult. I thought she was saying bald hair, and I never understood it. I was like, bald hair? Like, what is a guess? Like, Mia's hair? Like, I did not understand.
I think I remember not understanding it. Like, that's why I went out of my way to like figure out what it was, or maybe ask. No. Yeah, I remember. Yeah,
I just accepted that I wasn't going to know what she was saying, that they were making a reference that I didn't know. And I was like,
yeah, that's basically like my only association with Voltaire.
And in fact, when I just looked him up, the picture of the black and white bewigged Frenchman was basically.
No, I have that same image. No, don't worry. I have that
what's popping up. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. So they're on the horse and they make it into town and they meet this girl named Sarah and her husband. And like, it's very awkward. It's clear that like her and Hugh have a history. And like, it's revealed later on. Did we just say it? Like, it's revealed later on that Sarah is actually his half sister. Like, and that her mom was like his dad's long-term mistress. And like, he found out about her only when the dad was dying, and like that's why he thinks his dad's like a horrible person, like whatever. So it's like really awkward. But to be fair to Minerva, like she initially assumes that they have a past, like that she's his ex, and I also assumed that, but I didn't. But I also assumed that she had fucked his dad.
Oh.
I was like, that's what happened. They were in love, but then she fucked his dad.
Oh, damn.
So it was like a double whammy of incest for me.
Wow. I just thought that, yeah, I don't know. I think I just thought that like she broke his heart or something or whatever. Like, I don't know. Hugh is like, I don't know, like there's this one there, like this is an example. He's like, my favorite color is red. It's daring and bold. It's just the tiniest bit naughty, like me. And I was like, it's a joking dandy hero, and I can't figure out like who it reminds me of. Like I feel like this is like a type of hero where it's like, yeah, the joking dandy. I don't know. That's what he's like. Well, he's like judging her dad in his head. He's like, well, I'll cheat. Or my family will cheat on our wives. We'll never shirk our responsibilities. Like,
Saint Vincent.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a Saint Vincent.
Yeah, maybe.
Like
he's
the reformed rake with a heart of gold.
I'm exactly as I seem, a gentleman of leisure, shallow, silly, spoiled, but not just reformed rake. Like, kind of like
no, I know what
I
you're
don't know what
like,
the word is. Like, not effeminate, but like just joking about like liking nice thing. Like, I don't know. Like,
yeah, so they have a fight. Something to fight on the way back because he's steamed about Sarah, who's not his ex. And
but he's like taking it out on her. And he's like,
and he calls her out for babying Venus. And I was like, you're right, but don't be a dick about it. Like, stop, baby boy.
And like, well, he kind of like ditches her like on the way. Actually, this is before he meets Sarah. He kind of like ditches her on the way to like the village, like even though she can't keep up. And that I didn't really like that. Like he does that again.
That was on the way back.
No, because that's when she almost falls off the horse and he catches her in front of Sarah. And he's like, good heavens, you would have flattened a lesser man. Like, listen.
Oh my God. Sir, you really know how to build it. You should write a book, How to Offend Women in 5 syllables or less.
Yeah. Yeah, and then on the way back, he again gets impatient and mad at her for like being slow on the horse. And she's like, don't take your bad mood out on me. And he's like, why not? You're the one responsible for it. I was like, wow, that's bold.
Sir.
That's bold. And this is when like she stands, Minerva stands up for herself, and then she's like, I'm too mad to regret telling him to go to hell for now. Like, yeah,
for now. Then they get back to the estate, and oh no, his mom is here. She came early
because she got on the earlier ship, which like obviously like literally because she thinks he's lying this whole time. So she like gets there to try to like catch him out, unsurprising. And she's with her husband, who you said, like literally the most terrible American accent. It does get better.
You know what it sounds like? It sounds like the accents they have, the upper crust people have in the Gilded Age, like that TV show, because they're trying to do like the hoity-toity like 19th century like American accents. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So like it sounds like slightly off.
I thought he was going for like Southern at first, but like
I was like, maybe from the West.
He gave up. And he just sounds like normal eventually. Yeah, like I don't know. Listen,
thankfully he doesn't speak very often.
And so the mom's like really trying to catch them out. She's like, oh, so listen, I want to hear it from Minerva. She can tell me the story in her own words.
Hugh did give Minerva like a whole like binder basically of like, here's all of my lies.
And then right after she's like, so my fee just went up to 60 pounds. Like she really takes the opportunity to blackmail him. Because before that, he tried to be like, well, if you leave early, you're not getting anything now, even though he like promised her half before, which is really
bold. But also, even though like basically from the beginning, he's like, I'm not only giving her 20 pounds, like I'm gonna make sure she leaves with a bunch of money, and then I'm gonna keep giving her money for the rest of her life. No reason, totally platonic.
Yeah. And so then like that night he like
wait, I'm sorry, we can't there's like a very small detail that we can't brush over because it's amazing. Okay, so the mom is like asking whether like something like, Minerva, have you explored the estate, like have you seen the cave? And so they're talking about how they have a cave, and they used to have a hermit who lived in the cave, who was not just like a homeless man living on the estate in the cave. Like he was paid to be there and to keep up the hermit aesthetic. And that was something that was like fashionable like 20 years ago. So like that checks out. Like late 1700s, they were doing wacky shit. Like they were weird. And I was like, first of all, I was like, rich people are crazy. And then I looked it up and they're real. They're called
Oh, no,
garden
I know.
hermits.
Yeah,
They're
I feel like
called
we've had
garden
this
hermits.
conversation. No, I know. I feel like we've had this conversation before. Maybe I'm just,
No.
like, remembering me looking it up when I first read this book over the summer.
I was like, this is what? Honestly, quite frankly, like I know historical romance novel like authors like to different degrees, like historical romance authors will like throw in like random like fun facts. Like it really just depends on the author.
Yeah.
But I was like, Virginia, this is the best one by far. Like I've
Mhm.
literally never garden hermits. It's insane. Rich people are crazy. No wonder the French rebelled. Like,
I mean,
jeez.
when you don't have any, like, technology or whatever, like, what are you gonna spend your money on, you know? Like, why not? Why
Yeah,
not
just
garden
be a
hermit?
patron.
I saw a TikTok that was like, you don't have to be, like, invited to galas. You can just, like, Google galas near me and, like, buy a ticket and, like, you know, it'll be, like, at most $100. And that's true. At first, I was like, "Wow, I should try that." And then I was like, "Wait, that actually sounds like my idea of, like, a very terrible night." Like, it's basically like paying no to, like, a prom or something, but with people you
Yeah.
don't even know.
Yep.
But if you're into that kind of thing, socializing,
I mean,
I
if you
mean,
want to
it'd
marry
be fun
rich,
to, like, dress up. Yeah, if you wanna
if you
marry
want to
rich.
marry rich,
That's
the
a great
place,
point. Listen, that's a good point.
Rachel. It's a good point. It's a great point, even. But yeah, so the sassy butler, who I love, is like, Hugh, you have to apologize first because them's the rules. Like, men have to just
Mhm.
apologize first. And it's said in like that classic, like, like, you know, women are, you know, the like gender
Yeah.
roles, like joke thing, like
Mhm.
2008 rom com. But I'm like, here's my thing. If I live in a world in which I'm not allowed to vote, and after I get married, I stop becoming like legally a person, like I no
Mhm.
longer am a person, I
Mhm.
feel like, yes, like men just like, you're not even fighting, men should be apologizing. Like
Oh,
from the
yeah.
jump, like you're always in the wrong in this
Yeah.
situation.
No, absolutely. Like, yeah, I
No. Sorry.
no, and that's what really gets me. I mean, it's the same thing as, like, spinning it into, like, oh, women are the ones trying to, like, convince men to get married or whatever. It's like, right. Just, like, that really is the greatest lie the devil ever told because, like, yeah, men, I feel like, stand to
So,
gain so much more,
especially during
and
this time
especially during this
period,
time period.
when
Yeah,
you
like, I
weren't
don't
allowed,
know.
like if you were a gentleman's daughter or like higher, you weren't
Mhm.
allowed to do anything else without like disgracing yourself and your family.
Well, I guess arguably yeah, oh, definitely, definitely. I guess, like, that doesn't mean that the man's, like, gaining more in this time period because, like, I guess at
But
this point,
but he
they
created a
probably
system in
weren't
which the only
doing much.
option for
Sure,
her
sure, sure. Oh,
is,
sure, 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 yeah, yeah. I'm
yeah.
just saying, like, nowadays or even, like, as far back I mean, well, I
No,
guess
it's
what
so,
I'm thinking is, like, these, like, rich women or whatever, like, probably weren't actually doing that much, like
yeah.
I don't know, would you be, like, doing the household managing? I guess still, like, things that the
You
man
would
wouldn't
be
have
doing
to
the
do.
household management, like you'd be
Yeah.
meeting with the housekeeper
But
and
if you're
stuff,
like
and you
the
would be,
average, like middle class woman, even from that time period, like you're probably
yeah.
you're working like literally 24/7.
Oh, so because yeah, so something we forgot to mention about like Hugh's whole like plan. So right, like she's just supposed to be there for like a few days, and then she's supposed to elope with Giles. Like they're supposed to like
Yeah,
pretend
his
to
friend.
elope.
Yeah. Hmm.
Except that, yeah, Giles is like sassy best friend. But
Hmm.
like Giles is like the heir to a dukedom. So the idea that like Hugh's mom would never find out that Giles and Minerva didn't actually get married is ludicrous. Like
Yeah.
this man is gonna be a duke one day and she would be a duchess. And the fact that like he's like, nobody
Yeah.
will ever know. They'll just fade into obscurity.
That's funny.
Insane.
Listen. Well, cause like, well, no, because I don't. Are you sure? Because I just remember her saying like, "Oh, the other flaw is that like you won't be able to be friends with Giles anymore."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, and he's like, well, no, I'll figure out some way to like redeem him. So it's not like the mom, so it's not like his plan is like to never have Giles like come in contact with his mom again. So
Well,
really unclear. It
right.
could be
That's
that
what I'm
like
saying.
Minerva
There's a
breaks
flaw
his
in the
heart
plan.
too. It could be like Minerva breaks his heart too or whatever. Okay, so they had their fight. And he that night, like where she's like, "You're gonna pay me 60 pounds," and he's like, "Whatever, you're not getting half anymore if you leave." And he like barges in on her changing to
No, she's not
apologize.
changing. No, she's just in her translucent nightgown.
Did that exist?
Yes. So, well, it's interesting. And it's actually a very interesting fact. It's one of the things the Industrial Revolution robbed from us because they used to have like muslin. You know how, like, all these, like, they're always wearing
Fabrics,
muslin?
yeah.
there was a way of making muslin where it was basically translucent. Like that's why like you see pictures of Regency women like these
Oh,
like
wow.
flowy white dresses, and it would just be layers of muslin. And sometimes they even like wore like less layers so you could kind of see their legs a little bit, like it was scanty.
Ooh.
But they used to be able to make this really, really fine muslin. And that's been like lost. Like we don't know how they did it anymore because like everything,
Wait,
because machines can't replicate it.
the ancient fabric that no one knew how to make? Are you sure that? But how would we have lost it just
I
from
don't know what to tell you,
Regency?
man. I don't know what to tell you. The Industrial
That's
Revolution is
crazy.
machines.
Yeah, well, 'cause when you search it, it says, you know, the ancient fabric that no one knows how to make. But ancient, I mean, you wouldn't call like
I mean, it started in ancient times
Regency
and
you know.
then continued. I think it was I think the reason we don't know how to do it is because something with British imperialism. Like I think they did something like the people that knew how to make
Yeah,
it was like
Dhaka muslin in
yeah,
India.
right, in India, and then they like cut off all their hands so they wouldn't like compete with British like textile manufacturers or like
Yeah.
whatever.
Okay. In late 18th century Europe, a new fashion led to an international scandal. In fact, an entire social class was accused of appearing in public naked. The culprit was
Yeah.
Dhaka muslin, a precious fabric imported from the city of the same name in what is now Bangladesh, then in Bengal. It was not like the muslin of today. Made via an elaborate 16-step process with a rare cotton that only grew along the banks of the holy Meghna River, the cloth was considered one of the greatest treasures of the age. It had a truly global patronage stretching back thousands of years, deemed worthy of clothing statues of goddesses in ancient Greece, countless emperors from distant lands, and generations of local Mughal royalty. Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, it definitely was the British.
We don't know how to do it because the British fucked us
Wow.
over once again.
Anyway.
Waiting for you to be done researching. Anyway, so
Yeah,
she's in her
sorry.
translucent nightgown, and he's like, "Oh my god, she's so hot." We also get this term like they sit next to each other on the bed, and like you know when women move and they're not wearing a bra, especially like your boobs move, and it's described unfortunately as female jiggling. And when I tell you, I almost threw up a little bit when I heard that. I was like, "That's the I don't like." There's dozens of ways to describe this, and you picked the worst one. Like somehow female jiggling. Why? Jiggling is like the least unsexy word. Like it's like jello.
My
Do you
money
find
don't
jello
jiggle,
sexy?
jiggle.
Like what is
It
this?
goes.
Yeah. What? Horrible. Hate it. I wanted to vom.
And he's like, don't worry, like you'll be able to leave soon. And he's like, it was ridiculous, really, when they barely knew each other, that he already knew he would miss her. And then he's like, don't worry, like even when you after you leave, like he's like, it's gonna be like today or tomorrow. It's gonna be like really soon. He's like, even when you leave, like you can still come to me like anytime you need anything, like if you ever need help, like I'm always here. He's like, because leaving an open door was easier than a goodbye. It's just like, yeah, I know.
Love is an open door. Yeah, so they kiss, and after they kiss, and it's like they're both like, okay, bye. Like he like runs away because he's scared of emotions. But after they kiss, she's like, wow, I didn't know kissing was more than lips. It's also teeth and tongue
I
too.
know. I know. I was like, Farah, is that you? Another thing before that, like quote about the kiss when they're kissing, she's like, she traced her fingers across his face, searing it into her memory for all the empty years to come. And I was like,
Was she
something
Helen
about
Keller?
that. I was gonna say like something about that, like it's giving like Edward Cullen, but also like
Oh, sir.
Oh my god.
Oh, okay, so next day, Giles is like, got a blast. Can't elope, gotta leave. You guys are gonna have to do this.
Yeah, he's just like super
for
shady. He's like,
longer.
I got to go deal with some skeletons in my closet, like super big. And I
Okay.
guess that's gonna be the next book, right? Like with the sister.
It is.
probably.
I did read the description of the next book. He's being blackmailed for like some family secret. So I guess
Absolutely,
he
he
gets a
is.
letter in this book. So I guess he gets a letter for the blackmailer. He has to dip.
Mm-hmm.
But I was just like, I kind of just wish, like, I know he left for a real reason, but I kind of just wish he was like, okay, like they totally have the hots for each other. So like I am for Hugh's own good, I'm gonna like dip and give them a little more time to marinate. But like alas, no, it's actually he does have like a reason.
Yeah. Yeah. She talks to the mom, like the mom throughout is like trying to get like juicy details from Minerva. And something like Minerva, one thing I don't have in common with Minerva is that she's constantly saying how she's like an early bird, like an early riser. But what I
no.
do like is that she always says like I'm an early bird by nature, like at least acknowledging that like she's like I've never been very good at sleeping in, like at least acknowledging that like it's just kind of like you aren't. Like it's not like
Yeah.
yeah. And then the mom, I forget, like I just like she's talking about like a fight she had with a stepdad. And there's, like, some joke about, like, her throwing a hairbrush at him and hitting him and, like, how big the bruise was. And, like, I was talking about this with my friend the other day, like, why is that such a common
Like in the Parent Trap.
like, in the Parent Trap and just, like, generally, but I feel like, throwing like, the woman throwing like, why is that such a,
I
like,
don't know.
haha,
That would
normal like, have you ever got to the
I
point where
mean,
you wanted
it's
to,
the
like, throw
same
something at someone or,
it's
like,
the
get
same
violent?
no, no, the throwing things I've never understood, but it's like the same thing with like I feel like in a even less questioned way is like the when the heroine like slaps the hero or something because he's like
Yeah.
being a dick. And sometimes I'm like, yeah. But most of the times I'm like, if this were reversed,
Well,
I
and not just
don't know.
that, I guess yeah. Yeah. And I guess just, like I just can't imagine, like and I guess I don't wanna, like, jinx it and, like, have this be a scenario that happens for me, but it's also something and I can't remember if I told you this already, if we had this but, like, it's similar to, like, how I can't imagine like, okay, I told you when in the car accident thing. Did we say this last time we recorded?
Yeah,
And how,
you
like, the
can't
first
imagine
question
fighting.
yeah, the first question was, like, "Are the drivers fighting each other?" Like, from the 911 operator. Yeah, it's like, I don't know, I just can't and maybe I'm just
Yeah,
being,
I
like,
don't
so, like,
know.
holier than thou. Maybe, like, there is, like that actually is in me to, like, wanna get violent with someone, but
Yeah, so at some point, I forget what she learns this whether from the butler or from the mom, but like she learns that like he was like a really good landlord or whatever, and he has a
Mhm.
little retirement
Oh,
village
yeah,
for
which is
his
nice.
tenants because like apparently like I mean this doesn't surprise me one bit,
Which I
but
now
like
bel
dickhead
yeah.
like aristocrats would like kick people off their land as soon as they weren't able to work anymore.
Mhm.
But instead
Mhm.
he's like, "No, come to my little retirement village."
Mhm.
It's so
Yeah,
cute.
Hughes Hamlet, which he didn't name himself.
Yeah. No.
They named it,
Which good,
which
good.
is good, yeah.
Yeah.
And so they, like, decide that they need oh, is this oh, yeah, she finds this out from, like, the husband, the stepdad or whatever.
Yeah.
So she they, like, they come up with, like, a code word for when they wanna meet to, like, scheme, right? Is that
Mhm.
what it
It's
is?
my love. Yeah.
Yeah. My love.
You dummies. You big fat dummies.
And Hugh's like, "I like the sound of that for some weird reason, whatever." So Hugh's mom hates Mozart. Yeah, the fake mom gets really drunk and they have to like cover for her. And like Minerva can't sing. She's like totally tone deaf.
And I love the narrator's singing voice. Like that
Yeah.
almost makes up for the horrible
Da,
American
da,
accent. I was
da,
like,
da,
he does the like the
da,
voice crack and the
da,
like
da,
off key like
da.
so
Yeah.
well.
It's like
It's like good job.
Mary had a little lamb.
No,
Well,
it's
and
like
like and
hark the
the
herald
world
angels sing
angels
because that's what
sing
she
'cause it's
said.
around Christmas. It's kind of a Christmas book if you think about it.
Oh, yeah,
Much
I
like
did
they
not
should
get the
have
time of year at all.
saved it no, because the mom keeps pushing for a Christmas wedding, and they're, like, trying to
Yeah,
divert her to,
no,
like,
I know, but
To
like it didn't
Valentine's
feel like
Day.
that at all.
And
They
the
kept
mom's like,
going
"I could have a
outside, and I was like,
grandchild
"You're in
by
England."
Michaelmas." Yeah. So everyone is watching the mom, the, like, fake Lucretia opera mom sing, and she's so bad, and they're all, like, looking like they're in pain, and he was like, "Wow, Minerva's, like, the best actress I've ever seen, like, she looks totally fine with this." And it turns out that Minerva is just, like, literally so tone deaf that, like, to her, it all sounds the same. She's like, "I can tell the tempo, like, your girl can keep a beat, but, like, the melody, not for
Well,
me."
I know.
Yeah, listen, yeah,
I
and then
don't know her.
yeah.
Then so he has to teach her how to waltz because he told his mom. So he told his mom that she was good at horseback riding, and he told his mom that she was good at singing. And then
Yeah.
now they're like Minerva's like, oh well, he was exaggerating because he loves me so much, like whatever. But
Mhm.
then he has this whole elaborate story that like they fell in love over a waltz or whatever. Like they had this like very passionate first
Mhm.
waltz. And so like he's like, you have to know how to waltz. Like she's not gonna believe that
Mhm.
I was lying about that. So they have the little dance. The little a little waltzing lesson. And
Yeah.
this is when I wrote, honestly, the greatest crime that modern society has committed is getting rid of choreographed dances that are known by
No,
everybody.
seriously, and,
Because
like
they're much better than just jumping up and down.
well, I
They're
mean, we still have
genuinely
things
fun
like
and you
the
have
Macarena and
opportunities for
Soldier Boy.
sexual tension
The waltz was
that
very
are
scandalous,
I
right? With
know, but the
Prohibition, yeah.
Macarena, like let me tell you, as someone who recently 6 months ago now learned how to do like a reed and a country dance. Like, it's so different. You
Ooh.
know what I mean? Like, yeah, the
Yeah.
historical romance retreat. That's how I know. I was like, this is delightful. Like,
That's
this is, you're just
fun.
walking around and like you're laughing and you're like switching
Oh.
places and just turning around. Like, it's just very chill.
Wait, that's great. And he tries to teach her. First he uses some kind of like mirror analogy, and that doesn't work for her. And then
Yeah.
he's like, you're just walking in squares. And she finally gets it. And like the way that I relate to this so much, because like I don't know if
I
again,
hate
like
mirroring directions. I hate that. I was like, I'm glad the book calls out how
I don't
horrible
even know
being
what
like,
that
just
means. But
mirror
like
me.
I just like so relate to the like eureka moment when like someone finally, usually accidentally, explains some like physical thing in a way that I can understand it. And I get it, because like I get that listen, I get that like the thing that isn't obvious to me is usually not going to be obvious to whoever's explaining it, because like again, I have some kind of like problem with my brain where I just like can't. But like there's so many times that I'm like, wow, if you had just led with that, you were just skipping over this detail because you thought it would be obvious. It was not obvious. If you had said this, I would have got this an hour ago. Like I remember I took like I've taken like one surfing lesson when I was in Australia. We like did that. And
Uh-huh.
the instructions were you're supposed to like lay on your on the board and have your arms there, and then eventually you just like jump up onto the board. You like pull yourself up,
Uh-huh.
right? And it took me, I couldn't do it. I was like, wow, I'm so weak. I don't know how. I'm looking at these other people. They don't seem like they'd be stronger than me, but I am so weak. My body, I cannot get my body up. Like I just can't do it. And then finally by the end, I realized that you're not supposed to be putting your arms like in front of you. You're supposed to be putting them like right at your like boobs basically. And
Oh,
that's
yeah.
how you just push up. You're not supposed to be like pulling yourself up the board, but
Yeah.
just like physically
Like
up.
upward
And then it was
dog.
so easy. Exactly. Exactly. And then it was so easy. And I was like, wow, if someone had like told me where to put my hands, and maybe they did, and that just, it could have been on me. If someone told me to put my hands and say to push like up into the air, not like up towards the board, I would have been doing this whole time. But like literally just
Oh
the
my
fact that they like
God.
skipped over that instruction. I don't know.
Yeah.
Listen, there's so many things like that.
I keep seeing the like scab slash bruise under your eye and wanting to be like, Rachel, you have some mascara.
No, I know. Probably because there is like mascara stuck on it too. Probably because like I haven't wanted to
Oh.
like, rub.
Well, remember when that bug gave me a black eye in
Yeah,
Nashville?
I do.
That's what I thought you were gonna tell me. Like a bug flew into Houston.
No.
Anyway. Yeah, so then they go on a little picnic date. He takes her a romantic picnic
Oh, and
date, and he
she
shows her the sea
thinks
for the first
well,
time.
she thinks that it's gonna be time for her to elope. So she's like really
Oh,
sad.
yeah.
It's like really early in the morning, and they're all like, time to get in the carriage, time to get in the carriage. And it's actually just like him with a cozy warm blanket in the cold, dark, early.
Yeah.
So nice.
And during this
Yeah.
date is when he has the thought where he's like, oh my God, like I'm having feelings. Is this a heart attack? Like, why do I have this pain in my chest? What is going on?
Yeah. Another one.
Also, she tells him about her ex.
Mhm.
And the only thing about she uses the term promises are like pie crusts.
Mhm.
Where else? There was another book that we read that in, and like we talked about how fun a phrase that like like I think it was maybe like the Amanda Collins like deception and desire or like whatever, you know what I'm talking about.
I don't remember. That didn't ring a bell
You
for
don't
me, but I
remember?
believe you. No, I
You were
believe
the one that
you.
brought it up. I remember you were like, I love
Really?
that. Promises are like pie crusts that
And
they
what's
break
the
easily.
Yeah, like they're easy to make and they break easily or something.
Yeah.
Like pie crust is not very easy to make. You gotta laminate. Listen, pie, if you have a frozen, listen, if you're gonna make a pie, it's actually really easy to make if you like commit to just buying a frozen pie crust at the store and then like having a crumble top, which is my personal like favorite way to have pie anyway. Like crumble top and crumble bottom, but like, the people like a pie crust. Bottom pie crust is fine. Bottom pie crust tastes because it gets like nice and like juicy. It's not dry.
Gets soggy,
But
a soggy bottom.
yeah, but the lamination is always what's hard. Like, rolling out dough without the butter, like rolling out cold butter inside dough, and the butter isn't supposed to like squeeze through the dough at all. It's so hard.
Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, they make out again, and then immediately he's like, that was a mistake. And I was once again like, you should write a book, How to Offend Women in 5 syllables or less. That was a mistake. 5 syllables. And basically, like, it was a good old like miscommunication where he thinks that he's confessing his feelings and like asking her to have a long courtship so he can figure out whether he'll cheat on her or not or something. But he's like being very obscure about it, and she very reasonably assumes that he's asking her to be his mistress, and she's like, no. And so he
Yeah.
thinks that she like rejected him, like doesn't feel the same
Right.
way. So he's like,
He's
a
like,
sad. I
finally
was like,
my
you
first try.
so stupid.
Well, because like similar to me being like, I'm just confused why you can't look at me and know that rock climbing is not for Rachel. Hugh's like, of course she looks at me and she knows that I am a born cheater. Like she must know. Like he's like, it
The
should be
tainted blood.
It's so obvious. The
The
tainted
number of times
Spanish
you
blood.
said tainted
I know.
blood, sir. Oh
That's
God.
Hugh's theme song, Tainted Love, but Tainted Blood. Tainted
blood.
blood. Yeah, but she thinks that like every time he says like it won't work out, no, he's like, it's not going to work out because of who I am. She's like, he's saying because I'm so much lower than him socially.
Yeah, he's like, well, yeah, he's an earl,
He's like an earl,
and I'm like poor.
like, barely maybe a gentleman's daughter, but like probably not. My dad probably just lied about that.
Yeah. Speaking of her dad,
yeah,
her dad shows up when they get home.
And he tries to
blackmail
Hugh, but Hugh doesn't tell. Hugh like decides to just like deal with it and pay him off on his own and not like tell Minerva because rightfully not right. I mean, I'm not saying he rightfully should have lied about it, but like he's right that it will upset them. Like if they knew that dad was there, like not even to see them, but just like to
and that the
blackmail
dad had like been watching, like been nearby the whole time. Like he totally could have seen them like for the past 9 years or whatever, but like he
5
chose
years.
not to.
Yeah. He just like he apparently like ran off. Well, I don't know. He like ran off with some woman who like wouldn't want him with his daughters.
A woman who was gonna basically he was his mistress, like her mistress.
Yeah, his sugar mama or whatever. And this is when Hugh's mom tells Minerva that like she and her husband are planning to move back to England specifically because of this like marriage and to be with like these potential future grandbabies. And obviously Minerva starts feeling like really guilty. Yeah,
she's already been feeling guilty because they're like friends now
from the beginning. But like so the mom is like, we're moving to America, and Minerva's freaking out, and the mom also gives her rubies as like a passing on to her daughter thing, and Minerva's like fuck. And they go to the ball, like the town, what is it, the country dance?
No, what's it called? It's like the assembly. They go to the local assembly, and like they have to do a waltz, and like they're angry about it. Also, the mom is also like, I know you and Hugh have had sex. And Minerva's like, no. And she was like, don't worry, like I know. It's like, good for you. Yeah, so they're at the country dance and they're like dancing, and that's when Minerva's just like, you're full, like she's basically just like, you're full of shit, and also like you're in love with Sarah. And he's like, Sarah's my sister. What the
he's
fuck?
Like, this is like, again, possibly rightfully, he's like, I forget how he phrased. He's like, you should be able to look around this room. It's like, it's so obvious just looking around the room, like implying that they look alike, which like could be true, but
she does. She looks at Sarah and she's like, oh, they actually look a lot alike.
Yeah, but also like all British people kind of look, I don't know. Like,
yeah, they're all like, especially
like
when the aristocracy, exactly. Like the inbreeding just
classic
pops out.
Siblings are dating. Yeah. Like,
and this was the point where I was like, I'm gonna need the dad to like, because it's clear like he has like a misconception about the dad, but like he doesn't know it yet. And I was like, I'm gonna need to be like, the mom gave the dad like permission or something, which is kind of what happened.
Yeah,
but yeah.
So basically,
the dad pops up. Her dad.
Yeah. The dad pops up. Yeah, Minerva finds out what the dad was there, and she like gets really mad at Hugh at first. The dad tries to blackmail Minerva too, and I was like, honestly. Good for like I gotta respect a man for trying. Yeah,
like you're horrible,
he's
but like
you would yeah he's like, you can't blame me for trying. They're like, yeah, no, actually we absolutely can blame you.
We can.
Yeah, he's like trying to take all that. God.
But yeah, then they break up. Minerva's like, I'm leaving, like I'm done with you, I'm done. So they have the third act breakup, and the sassy butler comes in and he's like, you're a dumbass. You should tell her that you love her. And he was like, I did. And he's like, okay, but did you? And he was
what
like,
words? Yeah.
No.
He was like, it was more of a what else is there scenario than a never ending love scenario. Yeah. Which, listener, if you haven't listened, I just feel like you would understand this a lot more if you watched the Swan Princess 19.
Maybe we'll do an episode on this one. It's like 1994.
1994. It's not a Disney movie. It's made by like some other animation company. Listen, it's a classic. It's a classic.
It's a classic. There are also 2 sequels, which I wouldn't recommend.
I don't think They
had the third back breakup, and then finally he was like, okay, so I'm gonna communicate now and not be stupid. And he comes in to tell about the dad, and he's like, I got like a Regency era PI to like follow your dad, and he counterfeits money really badly, but he does. He's a big old criminal. Like, what do you want me to do? And then they like, I forget, they clear up the mistress communication, and he's like, I love you, and she's like, I love you, and then they have sex. And I was really on edge at this point because there were 1.5 hours left, and I was like, we've already had the third act breakup. What else is going to happen? And I assumed that Venus was going to get kidnapped or something, and it was much less exciting than that.
Really nothing. Really nothing
Nothing.
else
They
happened.
they confess.
Yeah, she has her first orgasm. It's exciting.
I do.
for
Okay,
her.
wait. Yes. Okay, but two horrible things happened during this sex scene. One, I discovered a new romance word, ick, and it's laving, as in like he laved her nipple. Like that's a common like historical romance sex scene word, and I hate it. It just means licking. Like, why can't you just say he licked her nipple? Like, why do you gotta say laving? Horrible. Also,
Laving.
yes, laving. Laving, I think is how it's
I
like
wow.
leaving, but
My
without.
brain blocked
It's
that out.
it's a very big ick for me, and I think I
I'm
noticed
sure
it
it would
because
be for me too
it's
if I had ever
so
noticed it.
common
Yeah.
in historical romance, and particularly in like early 2000s. That's why like this book is so weird. Like, it fits in the early 2000s historical romance like
Yeah. Maybe
era, but
she
it was
wrote it.
published like 3 years ago.
I mean, it's possible that she wrote it. Like,
Maybe. I mean, I
I don't
think she's also
know.
been writing for a long time, so like, maybe
Mm.
she just. But also something that happens, which is again early 2000 romance and 90s, or this is like old school romance, where he feels her hymen,
Mm.
where he goes in and he's like, he came
Mm.
against the barrier of her like virginity or whatever, and then he plunged. I was like, no. And it's funny because I literally just posted a meme about this where I was like,
Yeah.
sex positive romance, he felt her barrier. Like, no.
Yeah.
Horrible. I just, oh god, again, this was written like 3 years ago. I thought we were past this. I thought we were
Well,
done
again,
including
who
this in our
knows? Yeah.
historicals.
I mean, who knows when it was written, I
But it was
guess.
published 3 years ago, so you'd think her editor, you know what I
Right.
mean, her editor would take it out.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Listen, it's not the word. Like, there's always gonna be something.
Yeah, so after they have sex, yeah, basically the rest of the book is just them confessing to everybody and like telling everybody the truth. The dad pops up. Like, Venus is like, no, I'm gonna go with the dad. And then the dad gets like captured by the police because again, he's committing a capital offense. Like, he could be hung. And yeah, they get the dad out of trouble, but they're also like, don't darken our doorway again. And like, Venus finally realizes that the dad is shit. But I was like, and I'm realizing, I know we brought up Santa Baby in this episode, and I know in the Santa Baby episode, I was constantly being like, someone's got to get kidnapped. Like, why did no one get kidnapped in this book? And this is also a feeling I had in this book where I was like, I thought like Venus was going to go sneak away to like try to find the dad and like be with the dad. And then the dad was going to like try to ransom her or something. But it was much less exciting than that. Because that would be a very old school historical romance like ending. You know what I mean? Like, that's a Claypos ending.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
But no, it's just, he's just the worst, but not in a violent way. I was like really hoping for something because I was like 1.5 hours left. Like, what are we doing? But
Yeah,
it's
great.
really,
I
it's
don't
really
know
just.
I don't know how we like filled up that time, honestly. But well, the other thing that they have to clarify is the Sarah situation. So Hugh's dad,
Oh yeah.
older Hugh. So Hugh, like, he keeps talking about the Standish blood. It's not just his dad. His grandfather is also like ostensibly an asshole. And it turns out that
A
the
big fat
grandfather
dick.
actually is an asshole because older Hugh, was in love with his like childhood friend who was Sarah's mom and like proposed to her and everything. And then his dad was like, you can't fucking marry her, and went behind his back and like told her dad
Like
that
blackmail, essentially.
that he was going to kick them off the land and like fuck them over and like screw over their lives if she didn't break up the engagement. And so she did break up the engagement, but not before they, did the nasty. And
they did it the night before his wedding.
Yeah, because he had set up a marriage.
Yeah, because it's like an arranged
Hugh's
marriage.
mom, who was like barely 17, fucked, whatever.
Yeah.
He was also young; he was like 20. And unbeknownst to him, like, Sarah was conceived, whatever. And then he like was faithful technically to Hugh's mom.
Yeah, like,
long
he didn't
enough to
have
conceive
sex.
Hugh,
And he
then
didn't have
found
like
out.
that. Yeah.
What? He didn't have the what?
Well, he didn't find out about Sarah until they
Right.
could
Like
see.
so once he found out about Sarah, then he like came clean to Hugh's mom and everything. And Hugh's mom was like, "Yeah, you're right. Like, sorry. Like, you know, obviously I don't like love you because I don't know anything about you. So like you should whatever." But they keep up pretenses for like 10 years until the grandfather dies. And then after that, like she gives him permission to like go be with
Yeah.
Sarah's mom.
Yeah,
And then
because he
that's
was
when she
faithful
fell
for
in
like the
love.
10 years.
Yeah,
Like
he didn't like cheat on her. Yeah.
Yeah, and then she gave him permission. Yeah, and then the old Hugh introduced her to Jeremiah, his like
Who was
American
his
business
friend.
partner.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And so they all like were happy, whatever, until
Swingers.
Hugh's dad died. Well, sure, some might say. Yeah. Or
Some
just
might
like giving
say.
people an marriage of convenience. Yeah.
Yeah,
Who didn't lead to romance.
yeah, so it was like all chill. And Hugh was like, ah, because everybody loved his dad. He was like, I know everyone hated grandpa, but like everybody loved my dad. That's why it was like such a shock. And then
Mm-hmm.
he's like, wow, I can get married now. Thanks,
I'm not
mom.
doomed
And then
to
he
cheat on my wife.
I
Yeah.
just and then he goes like is like, Minerva, marry me now. And the mom's like, okay, slow down. We still gotta like they had to like read the banns in church for like 3 Sundays in a
Oh
row
yeah,
or
because
whatever.
she had tricked them into like reading the first ones with her real
Yeah.
name. Like she tricked them into Venus. Yeah. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
funny.
And then yeah.
What I thought was interesting is like I feel like usually when there's this kind of like trauma wound of like the dad being a cheater, like usually it'll be like, and I saw how much it affected my mom. Like it, you know, my mom it like ruined her life. Like she's heartbroken. I never want to do that to someone. But Hugh he's always thinking like, and I just don't understand how my mom can be so nice to this woman. Like how she seemingly doesn't care.
Yeah.
Like how she's totally fine with it, which I get. But also, like, because he's never had like a frank conversation with her, and he could just be like, because I guess his assumption is always like, well, people must just be good actresses, like the way with like Minerva and the tone
Yeah.
deafness. But yeah, it's
Well,
like it just yeah.
well, the thing is that his wound is not like, oh, it hurt my mom. Like it's partially that, but it's
Mm,
more like he's like, I based myself on my dad. Like I modeled
mhm.
myself after my dad
Yeah.
because I thought he was such a good guy. And then I
Mhm.
found out that he was a good guy. So it turns out that like I modeled myself on a dick. So like I
Yeah.
must have
Yeah.
latent dick tendencies, like
Yeah.
ready to
Yeah,
come
yeah.
forward.
But it's just like interesting because like I guess I mean it's enough that like Hugh is hurt. You know, obviously like it's enough of like a that's
Yeah.
you know still like a trust, you know, a betrayal for the kid, even if you know. But it's just interesting that
And the
like
fact that Sarah knew the whole time. It's like, really?
yeah.
Like, why?
Well, of
Like,
course,
come
Sarah.
on.
Well, Sarah like had to know the well.
Well,
I
I
mean, yeah,
know, but like, especially if you like wanted them to be nice and like get along, like they could have been actual siblings. You know what I mean? Like they
right,
could have.
right.
All right,
All right,
cat scale.
cat scale.
Like
Not very
low,
high, very low, like
very
very
low.
low. Like she's so clumsy and not nimble, so not a cat.
And he's just very dog-like.
Which I guess makes me not a cat in that way, which is kind of sad.
Ready?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
3, 2,
1,
1,
3.
1.
Okay, fair enough.
Oh, yeah. I thought this was like there was like no, like I can't. I feel like I'm very good at like reaching for like.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, maybe this was cat. Like I literally can't point to anything in this book that was cat-like.
Allison, where can they find us?
You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at We Read It One Night, on Twitter at We Read It Podcast. You can get our handy dandy merch that we talk about throughout this episode, unless I cut most of those parts out, but on our Etsy store, and it's constantly having designs every day, and we got some great puns coming up. And you can go on Redbubble for our We Read It One Night merch, and you can leave us a rating and review wherever you're listening right now. Smack the puppy those stars and write some words if you are so inclined.
Godspeed, comrades.
Godspeed.